Alrighty, welcome to episode 168 of Topwa's Ask Us Anything. Unusually, it's been a pretty quiet week. A Gidgegannup couple has embarked on a caravan trip to Perth. They unfortunately turned right instead of left and now find themselves travelling around Australia in their Model 3 while towing their caravan and keeping the sea to their left. They could simply have turned around, but since they're not good at reversing, they resigned to coming home the long way. And that was this week's news. Indeed it was. And look,
Very short news.
I think to maintain the privacy of the couple that are driving around Australia in a caravan, I think we'll just call the gentleman, look, let's call him Shane, and let's call his good partner Sarah. So just so as to keep the anonymity of that couple. But yeah, once again, welcome. As is customary, if there is anyone who is new and is comfortable in doing so, please unmute yourselves and say hello.
Hi, I'm Darren. I've muted myself.
Okay, Darren, very good. Welcome.
Thank you.
Tell us about the awesome car you either have or you have on order or you are thinking of buying.
Yeah, I had it about 3 months now. A Tesla Model 3 rear-wheel drive one. It's fantastic.
And it sure is. And congratulations on joining the Tesla family. And obviously, if you've got any questions, feel free to ask them anytime during the program. I'll just ask, now I'm going to go for the pregnant pause. I'll just ask if anyone else is new that would like to unmute and say hello.
Hello, my name is Michael.
Oh, welcome, Michael. Wow, we got two. Excellent.
Yeah, I know, incredible.
Tell us about your car.
Well, I'm new, very new. Like the weekend, I've got a Tesla 3 all-wheel drive long range, and so far it's been a huge learning curve. Obviously, I've been walking the car up and down the drive from remote control, so that's cool. And yeah, it's going. No, it's going really well actually. Got a few questions for tonight, so yeah, I'm ready.
Awesome. Well, we'll get onto those quite promptly. All right, I'm going to risk the trifecta and go for a third. So let's see if there's anyone else that's out there that wants to say hello.
Yeah, look, I'll say hello. I'm not 100% new. I did join a few times over 2 years back now when I got my Model 3. It's been a fantastic car, still is. Unfortunately, after 2.5 years, I might have to do some maintenance. I did put some water in the windscreen bottle, but I think it might need some new tyres, which is, yeah, I got a bit of a shock when I looked at some prices, but I think there are other options. But the major reason for being on tonight is she's beginning to annoy me quite a lot because the Autopilot keeps getting scared when there's nothing to get scared of. You're cruising along and it decides that 35k might be fast enough on this road, and it's a clear road, nothing in the way, just slows down and crawl along for a few hundred meters, and then it says, yeah, okay, and we'll speed back up again. And just wondering if anybody else has got that same problem.
Yes.
Yep.
In fact, since the latest update, I've noticed many more spots where the car wants to slow down to 30, 35 for a few hundred yards. And new spots where it never did it before, and it's still doing it in the old spots. So yeah, I actually have to touch the accelerator and do something myself. It's quite upsetting.
I know, it's a real pain, isn't it? Yeah.
A lot more, and also it's scared of cars around you.
Yes.
Yeah. Scared of those lanes. Yeah.
So something it does do is it often will color, depending on what screen background you have, whether you've got light mode or dark mode or automatic and what time of day it is, it will often color the adjacent cars next to you, well, black if it's in a white screen, and therefore pay attention to them and treat them as threats.
Yeah,
and slows down and brakes because of it.
This occurs when there's no other cars around.
Yes.
So there's not another car in sight. It's a straight, clear road. So only thing I can think of is it's it must be coming off the map system or something, because there's no other vehicles, there's no threats. And
Brian, to put
or something.
to put some of these changes in the latest version into perspective, I'm not saying these particular ones, but many of them are not actually Tesla's doing. It's something that Tesla has been forced to implement as a result of the NHTSA, the National Highway Traffic and Safety Authority in the US, which has concluded a 2-year from a
You're breaking up, Pete.
You're breaking up a bit there, Pete.
Incidents.
Yeah, Pete, those are the nags that they're fine.
Yeah.
It's the car just slows down for no apparent reason. No nags, no nothing, just decides that 70 is not the right speed, 35 or 40 is.
Yeah, I had it on the freeway, and then all of a sudden it's like almost putting the anchors on them, but I've always got my foot ready, so I just punched it.
But can we just get I think we've all had quite regular updates over the last couple of weeks. So if we just do a version check, are we all on 44.30.5?
Yes.
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
To be honest, I haven't driven my car an awful lot the last couple of days, but I've not noticed those great slowdowns. Although, you know, you always get them with witches' hats. If it sees anything that it thinks is a witch's hat, it'll go to 40 because it thinks it's a construction area. But has anyone noticed that the car might have shown might have shown witches' hats, even though that's obviously incorrect? Such as, you know how you got the razor. Oh, okay. Because
all you need from memory is, I think, 3 or 4 witches' hats or items that it thinks are witches' hats in a row for it to slow down to below 40.
No, this is not showing anything on the screen. It's the same place on the road every time. You know, as Grumpy said, it used to do 1 or 2, and now it's doing more. So I'm up in Kalamunda, just going on Canning Road. There's 2 or 3 spots, and you know you're driving along. It's going to slow down soon, and bang, slows down, and you wait. Well, if you're patient, you can wait for 300 or 400 meters, and then it'll start to speed up again. And it doesn't matter what the traffic conditions, what the weather's like. I thought it might be getting confused by shadows on the road, but no, there's areas with no shadows, no hazards, not even other traffic. You're not coming up behind anybody, anything like that. It just said, oh, look, this bit of road should be 40. But that doesn't change the indicated speed or the set speed. It just slows down.
So, Brian, one possibility, and I've observed this at several different places, is it will wrongly act like there was a give way sign or something similar, like an intersection, and sometimes you'd actually paint like a red line across the road as it approaches it. It doesn't, like you said, it doesn't change the speed limit indicated sign, but it behaves like it's going into a controlled intersection. So I wonder if that might be some of the behaviour, because I've seen that particularly on Wanneroo Road, well, north of Wanneroo, and there's one section just near Romeo Road, or just north of it, where it will always just suddenly slow down for nothing, and it does it at exactly the same spot. And that, I think from memory, that one actually very briefly paints a red line across the road, thinking it's like a give way or something.
Yeah,
No,
it's not doing that I've noticed.
Yeah, never seen anything on the screen. It's no indications on the screen or anything. You just think, oh, hang on, it's slowing down. And but you know, it's the same place. It must be reading something off the maps that it thinks as a hazard. I thought it might be if, you know, the road conditions, it's not sure if there's a corner or not, it'll start slowing for the corner. But this is on a straight road with clear visibility. You can see the line.
Right.
Yeah, if it loses the white lines or it lost the corner, it thinks there's a corner. Yeah, you can understand that. No, weird.
Yeah, Brian, I have the similar issues going to work. I work up in the hills from North Dandle, up sort of the southeast of Perth, and I put the automatic cruise control on, and the same spots when I'm going up a hill, it seems to slow down, like it sees the hill as like a barrier.
Yeah.
And sometimes I get the same thing where it slows me down to 50 k's an hour when there's no speed sign saying that, you know. So
Yeah.
I think that's a common issue.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
this
other
is fairly new. It's well, I say fairly new. The last 3 or 4 weeks probably. So it's not just the last updates. This started happening quite a while back. I
Yeah,
think
same here.
Mr. Grumpy was telling us, yeah, and then it's got worse. A couple of weeks before Christmas, it's found a few more spots it doesn't like, and the only thing I think of is there's something to do with its map system is telling it there's hazards in this area.
Yeah,
Because, you know, there's some areas where you have roadworks and 6 months later it still slows down because it remembers there were roadworks there once, and then that eventually clears. So I don't know what's going on.
The other thing that I've noticed is you can be in the fast lane coming down the Kwinana Freeway. Across 4 lanes, there's an exit lane and it picks up the 60 sign on the exit lane. And it shows up on the screen as 60. And you go, no, that's for the exit lane.
Yeah.
And then after a while, it goes back to 100.
Yep.
One thing with Tesla, it's always a case of 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And Autopilot is obviously no different. So in the short term, it can look like it's actually getting worse. But over the long term, I mean, if you think back to the shadow braking where we just, you know, throw the anchors on pretty hard, that's been not eliminated, but it's been vastly reduced. Also, when you're going through an intersection and it tries to pick up the guidelines from, you know, from the right-hand turn, let's say. So that's been drastically removed, drastically improved, not removed. But yeah, so over the long term, it's continually getting better. But don't forget also the version that we have in Australia hasn't been worked on by a human, hasn't been touched by a human for over 5 years or over 4 years. So yeah, so hopefully it won't be long before we get the US version, the FSD beta, and by all reports, sounds like the US version doesn't have half these issues.
And
It's
speaking
got
of
other
US,
issues, less minor.
yeah. So speaking of US versions, let's get to the elephant in the room, and we'll politely ventilate it here because it's not great when people ventilate it on Facebook, but I'm sure quite a few of us have probably seen something like this. And I'm not sure if any of us know how, like, you obviously have five infractions you can now have before auto steer or autopilot goes away for a week. You're in a sin bin for a week. And one of the things that I personally find the most annoying is not the steering wheel nag, because that was never an issue, because it really is quite simple to keep your hands on the steering wheel. It's if the car perceives you as not paying attention to the road, and it doesn't always give you an audible signal to, in its mind, pay attention. So you can very quickly find yourself being locked out, and then you have a counter. And me personally, I've got 2 strikes, and I'm sort of looking forward to the 5th one to see what happens. Does anyone know, this is mainly for the benefit of people in the room and also watching on YouTube, does anyone know if these strikes, a little bit like demerit points, return after some period of time, or are they permanent? And does it mean that inevitably, with the progress of time, everyone will get struck out at some point?
Just ask Jared Harold, he'll tell you. 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks. Yeah.
I had thought originally when I read that it was 5 strikes anytime and you get a week's ban. But I mean, it could be in a month, who knows?
Right, because I must admit I've been too lazy to sort of Google it, but I presume no one's bumped into any information that sort of explains whether it's a lot, you know, look, let's face it, if you get a point back a week after you've incurred it, well, that's fine. Then, you know, most of us will be perfectly okay, or maybe even a couple of weeks. But if it's sort of for the remainder of the car's life, then everyone is going to get an infraction for a week, guaranteed. and then let's hope that after you've been sin binned for a week that you get all 5 points back, and it's not each subsequent infraction gets you another week, because then, to be perfectly frank, you might as well just you could almost resort to just not using autopilot, which I've seen a lot of people do on the freeway, because you can tell that they can't keep the center lane properly, or center line. But anyway, that's just one of the little gripes.
I was just thinking, for the FSD in America, you get 5 strikes, you're out. But I think they reset after 2 weeks.
Cool. Well, I guess we're going to find out.
I thought I'd say that for Jared, but it was actually something. It wasn't just the Elon 2 weeks. I think I do remember reading something. It was 2 weeks and it reset.
Maybe I've just googled that it is 2 weeks. Yeah. So, like I said, should have just.
So you just broke up there for a second there, Pete. So you're saying that you'll get each point back, if you want to call it that, after 2 weeks from incurring it. Oh, sorry, Pete, you didn't reply. I don't know if you heard that or not.
I'm looking on the US website.
We'll just go James.
And they only talk about the FSD, and they say it's 2 weeks back, but everyone's asking the same question. If I get a strike today, does that one strike disappear after 2 weeks, or they just keep accumulating? There's no answer at the moment. I'll keep looking.
Yeah, right, cool.
They haven't said how long the points last for, but you're out for 2 weeks, and then it resets to 0. So as you say, you might be forever accumulating. I'll see what I can find out.
They might have
cool. Thanks.
They might have a system in place, like a double or nothing system, where you can just get your bottom smacked heavily, and then you get your points back, and you'll be fine.
Well, a big issue, and unfortunately, I think Pete's internet's really, really bad. But if you are, for instance, if you have a couple of cars in a fleet and you put them on Turo or something similar, it doesn't take much imagination to go, well, if one person is tardy, they can then sin bin the car for at least a week, which then makes that car far less desirable to rent for someone else. Because I've got to be perfectly honest, if I want to rent a Tesla, I absolutely want to have autopilot, because that's one of the compelling reasons why I want a Tesla, apart from all the other reasons. So I see some very interesting side effects coming into play, which
renting the car out is the big issue. It's not fair for you to be punished for the sins of someone else.
Precisely.
Punishment.
Notwithstanding that humans are resourceful, and there's nothing, like if they had confined the sins to one profile, then people would just keep opening up new profiles and then drive irresponsibly in the eyes of the NHTSA in America. And I guess that's the problem. It's always the human factors. When humans are resourceful, they end up having practices dealt against them whereby the average person suffers unnecessarily. But anyway, let's put a pin in that one and move on.
On the American Not a Tesla App website, they've confirmed that the strikes continue to accumulating forever until the 5 is reached, and then they'll reset in under 2 weeks. It says between 1 and 2 weeks, depending on unknown factors. But yeah, they last forever, your strikes.
Harold, you got 2 strikes, did you, Harold?
Yeah, and the strikes were for not paying attention to the road. That was the face. The camera in my car not being happy with the direction my face was facing. And by the way, I had sunglasses on.
Could you stick some googly eyes on your forehead or something?
Well, we shouldn't really go. I think it's probably not in the spirit of the club to suggest circumvention devices such as.
We'll have to put James in the sin bin.
Such as
there's more a comment on your forehead than
Groucho Marx sunnies or something, or band-aids over cameras, which may or may not work. That's not really in the spirit of what the club's about.
And it's not
Well,
And it's not fair to be accusing Harold of being cross-eyed either. So.
No, I'm not. I'm not the presenter on CarWow. So, but anyway, look, let's hope that there might be some negotiation between Tesla and the American NHTSA, bearing in mind that I'm not aware that any authorities in Australia have voiced any major concerns with the behaviour of Autopilot in this country, for which we are subject to its laws, and we ought not to be subject to American laws. Just saying.
okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
Has that problem been occurring for lots of people? Because I received update 30.2 on the 21st, and then on the 22nd and 23rd, I drove about 700 k's, and most of that was on Autopilot and no issues at all. So I don't know if it's certain specs of cars or cars with certain hardware that are affected, because everyone seems to be complaining about having this issue, but I didn't have one thing that was different to before.
When you said 30.2, do you mean 44.30.2 or do you mean... Yeah, right.
No,
Well,
yeah, 44.30.2. Then I received 44.30.5.1 a couple of days later as well. But yeah.
Well, you'll see very quickly, if you want us, for instance, just try and do this carefully, because please don't get a strike. But preferably if you've got a co-pilot, a passenger that can make sure that everything's okay, if you basically glance to the lower left-hand corner of your screen for a few seconds, you might then in the corner of your eye see, I think it's red writing, and it's got a steering wheel or something, and it says, please pay attention to the road. And sometimes you'll get one warning tone, and then look, I'm now getting to the point where, for safety, because I don't want to get more strikes, I will reflexively disengage Autopilot instantly, because I don't want to wait for the car to realise I'm actually looking at the road, if you know what I mean. I'd rather have Autopilot off and not get another strike in the several hundred milliseconds before the car realises I am actually looking at the road, because I don't know how to look at the road more intently than looking at the road.
Yeah.
But anyway,
which is silly because it makes you drive less safe, which is a bit silly.
Yep.
Yes, and to be honest, I've lost the ability to drive a car safely without Autopilot. So,
no, I agree.
You know.
I got my strike on the freeway. Same sort of thing. Autopilot following the car in front safely, but you got an idiot in your blind spot, and so I'm watching my mirror, waiting for him to slowly creep forward. So as soon as he comes up next to him, I can put my indicator on to take that space. But because I'm looking at the mirror, I'm not paying attention. Bang! Next thing you know, I've got a strike.
Yes. Yep. Cool. All right. So I think we've well ventilated that, and it is healthy to critique Tesla. We're not blind fanboys and girls. We praise Tesla for the awesome technology that they actually bring to bear, and a little bit later we're going to see a couple of videos that sort of show some of that, and then of my favourite product, that being the Cybertruck, of course. But it is also appropriate, when appropriate, to critique certain things. And with Pete's disclaimer, in defense of Tesla, much of this seems to have been foisted upon Tesla at the behest of the NHTSA, by way of a technical recall, which product recall technically, but one that was done with an over the air update. Alrighty, and we are going to, hopefully the Parkers will be joining us from a undisclosed location, although it's not Broome.
Harold.
Yes.
Hello. Yeah, I just had a
Darren.
question about traveling. I had an issue with my Tesla, and the first couple of months I owned it, the steering rack failed, and had to have it picked up by Tesla, taken from Mandurah to Osborne Park. And the roadside assist driver said that outside of certain areas in, like any towns, if you break down, you get charged by Tesla for a certain distance from the towns. Is that a legitimate thing, or do you know anything about it?
Yes and no. I personally know of a gentleman who lives in Karratha whose car had an issue initially he had to transport it down to Perth,
Mhm.
and he initially paid for that. And then it was found that the issue was a warranty issue, and then Tesla trucked it back to Karratha at their expense.
Mhm.
And then after some, to be honest, I consider unnecessary interactions between Tesla and the owner, unnecessary in that the discussion should not have had to be held. Tesla then reimbursed him for his expense of getting the car down to Perth.
Okay.
So that's 15, let's call it 1600k each way journey that Tesla ultimately entirely paid for because the fault was under warranty.
Yeah, but that's fine. But also, if it's say like something like a flat tire, if I'm sort of like 200 k's out of Perth, how would that be covered by Tesla's roadside assist?
Flat tires aren't a warranty issue, so it's certainly not covered under anything to do with that.
Yeah.
Look, I think I'm not familiar with roadside assist. I thought it was 60 k's, but I don't know whether I thought it's 60 k's from your location.
Okay.
I don't think it's 60 k's from, let's call it
80
Osborne
k's
Park.
from a service centre.
80, yeah.
80 k's from a service centre, and a service centre is anywhere that Tesla will let you fix the tyre. So it should be any town as such. But still, there's a lot of places in Australia more than 80 k's.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Now, with a tyre, if it's just a slow leak, I mean, obviously you're better off just patching that yourself or driving the car while, obviously maintaining tyre pressure. But
yeah, I have a puncture repair kit.
Yes, yeah, and they work really well. That's the little slug thing. Look, that's great for road tripping. They are obviously intended to be temporary. I temporarily put one on my old Model X that I used to own and continued to drive that temporary repair for another 35,000 kilometres with no incident until a tyre was replaced due to old age.
Well done.
So, yeah, that can be quite useful. Alrighty. Have we got any other or any other questions or comments?
I guess the only question I've got, I need some new tyres, recommendations.
What sort of car have you got, Michael?
Model 3 all-wheel drive.
Yeah, it's
So
very long
18
range,
inch.
Harold. It's one I'm very familiar with.
Oh, Steve?
Michael?
Okay, so Steve, have you got a suggestion for tyres?
No, I sold it.
Okay, is anyone in this room who has a Model 3? I can see some that do.
I got new tyres through Costco, but you can also get them through Jack's Tyres. It just depends upon where you live.
Yeah, I got.
And
John
how much
Fowler,
were they? How much were they, Nigel?
Well, mine was a rear-wheel drive, and it cost me $1,100 at Costco for 4 new tyres for the Model 3 rear-wheel drive.
Is that fitted and balanced?
Yeah, that was done, and you got free wheel rotation every 10,000k and free puncture repair if it was a repairable one, not near the edge.
And
I managed to get.
were those the Michelins that they put on originally, or were
They were the Michelin PS or whatever it was, 4s, I think.
I like 4s.
There you go.
I
Michael.
managed to get some Goodyears for the Model 3 for 18-inch tyres for under $850, all 4 fitted. That was a special about 6 months ago. But a couple of weeks ago, I had some Continentals put on, and same load rating, same speed rating, and of course the same diameter profile, etc., as the Michelins. And yeah, they were just under $900 for 4. So it's worthwhile, shopping around and having a look at what else is out there. Now, both of these with the Continentals, they had the option of the foam inside the tire or no foam. The foam was an extra $50 a tire. I went without the foam, and I honestly can't really discern much of a difference. There is if you really listen out for it, because I made sure I try to get a sort of a benchmark before I took it in. And if you really listen for it, yes, you may notice a difference. But you know, if you're not looking out for it, you won't notice the difference. If you've got the radio on, there's no way you'll hear the difference. So I don't know how much.
So are the tyres on my car, do they have foam as standard?
Yes.
Yeah, they're the Hankook ones.
Yes.
Yes, yeah. Oh, they do. Okay.
Does that mean they run flat?
No.
No run
No.
flat. No, none of Tesla's tires on any model of their cars are run flat. Michael, so what quote did you get for?
I haven't got a quote yet. I thought just got the car. I know it's coming
cool.
up. There's no urgency at the moment. But you know, the brain's trusted here. Why not ask the question? So
yeah, absolutely.
And one other question is, what does this foam do that I have in the tire?
It reduces the noise. It allegedly. Well, sorry, not allegedly. Its purpose is to reduce road noise.
Road noise.
And does it also affect, you know, that puncture repair kit Tesla, it's got the goo that goes in. Does it affect the operation of that?
Yeah,
apparently not. They say the the goo goes through the foam, it gets sucked out, but it must affect it to some degree. So, but yeah.
That messes your TPMS sensors and stuff. So don't
Yeah.
bother. I mean, I've got that, but no. What you need is the 4x4 puncture repair kit, because it has the big handles and that stuff to get through the tires.
Well, the good news is I have one of those, and I agree. I hate the goo, but quite like the little pump they're doing. It's just I think you can get some areas at least.
I got mine 4 years ago with the car, and James, the Tesla guy, said it's probably the most expensive thing that I'll never use, and it's true.
This is the sort of thing that
that's what
is the most useful, and obviously it's not going to affect the foam because it's a completely reversible act, and really the foam, I would take it as a desperation type. You know, you need to get home and that's the only way you can do it or something, but you'd probably want to use that last as a last resort.
Down here, the country down Margaret River, so we've got to be a little bit on the ball here. I have used those tire repair kits in four-wheel drives, and you definitely need to get the wheel off. You need to put some weight behind it to get it in. So, of course, that's...
Depends where you actually get the... I've done both mine and my wife's Model Y with the tyres on.
Me too.
Get good turn. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Just a note on that goo, I would regard it as the very last option because it will most likely ruin your whole tyre. Okay. And the other thing with that tyre repair kit, one of the things or one of the tools that it's missing is pliers. So all well and good to have that, but if you don't have any pliers to pull out the nail or the screw, it's not going to help you much. So I don't know why none of the kits include pliers, but yeah, worthwhile. Oh, does it? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it did.
That one that Harold showed didn't, and most of them don't. But it's worthwhile buying even just some smaller ones and putting them inside. Yeah.
I'll see if I can find the photo.
I have the foam stuff in both cars, and that's, like you say, it's a last resort, or if my wife's driving at night, it's her first resort. You know,
yes,
get her own.
And that's totally fair enough too, James, because the importance there is to get back in the car and going down the road.
So once that screw's gone in, I presume the tyre or the valve or the sensor is not in the best shape.
All buggered.
Probably.
Well, when you get to actually want to repair it properly.
Yep. Well, TPMS costs bit over $100 or ish. I think it's actually on Tesla's website.
No.
My last one
only
was
about
110.
only about 40 to 50, Harold. No, only 40 or $50 at Typower. They just use a generic one, but Tesla uses the generic, standard frequency. There's nothing special about the Tesla TPMS.
Except that you have to tell them what model car you have, because the new Model Ys, for example, are Bluetooth and not UHF. So there is actually a distinction between the two.
Gotcha.
And I'm just going to bring up
I saw that in the Cybertruck.
wheels and tires, and because Bluetooth is 2.4 gig, and in fact it's $120 for Teslas. Ooh. This is for a Model Y. Oh, that must be the actual valve stem, black or silver. But that's the TPMS there. And it is different, I know, from the Model S's and X's, and I think different from the old Model 3s. So there was a time when they are different. Actually, that might be shown on the Model 3 wheels. Oh yeah, cool, Paul.
Yeah.
They might have a distinction. Oh yes, here we go. Note, compatible with Model S and X vehicles produced in 2021 plus, after 2021. Model Y and refreshed Model 3 vehicles. Refreshed 3 vehicles have chrome Anyway, you just got to be careful. They're not all the same, because the newer ones are Bluetooth. But yeah, as James says, for many of us, it's the goo is the last resort, and for others, it's the first resort, and either way is fine.
Sounds like it's not a bad idea to have one of those valves with you, so if you go to a tyre repair place, they might stuff it up.
Yeah, look, Michael, I wouldn't necessarily... Look, you could get caught into that thing of let's have a spare this and a spare that, but the chances of you actually needing it is low, and the availability of it's probably fairly high. So you might as well just do that grudge purchase if, in the rare circumstance, you actually need it. Otherwise, because then you can, with that surplus cash, you can buy other good things for your car that you can use every day, rather than possibly once in a blue moon.
I guess we're just learning with, okay, we've got this car, hasn't got a spare wheel, we live in the country, we're nowhere near a service state, so all these things are, buzzing around. I'm just, putting it out there. See what you guys think.
With the tyre slime, the tyre goo, it actually can be cleaned out the inside of your tyre. It only sets where it comes out under pressure. It takes the pressure, where it comes out of the hole in your tyre. It sits there. The rest of it just stays as a horrible goop inside your tyre. So you can actually, the tyre repair people can rinse it out of your tyre, but it also can.
Just like I run shoes, tyres on my bicycles.
Yeah, exactly.
It sounds very similar.
Yeah, using the same stuff as the mountain bikes.
Well,
so it does stay as just a horrible
water.
slime in the rest of the tyre.
Yeah.
It shouldn't affect anything else. It only goes hard where it's been forced out under pressure.
Cool.
Very good. And Michael, the thing is, you're right about not having a spare, but unfortunately, many modern cars choose not to have spares in their packaging because it makes it cheaper and easier for the manufacturers. You'll probably get used to not carrying a spare, because if you think about in your lifetime how many catastrophic flat tires you've had that render the car undrivable within, a few kilometers, that proportion's pretty low compared to a tech screw, which gives you a slow leak, which is annoying because once a week you have to top the car up, sort of thing. So it's a balancing thing. Several of us have driven around Australia. Pete has, Rob is not in the room, but and many others have driven across the Nullarbor or done other similar things. And we've dutifully carried spares. and those spares have done many dozens of thousands of kilometers. But then you can be unlucky and drive around the corner and run over a bolt and have the tire deflate on you in 500 meters and be completely wrecked.
Well, you had to do that, but I mean, I hear what you're saying.
The spares have done thousands of kilometers, but in the boot of the car, not on the wheels.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really, it's probably the level of, well, how humans, they sort of, as you engage in risky behavior, that becomes normalized, and then you just don't worry about it until in 10 years' time, you might be by the side of the road for a few hours, compared to having to lug a spare tire around all the time. It's just one of those balancing acts that you probably vary your opinion of as your ownership, time increases.
I think right now my thoughts are, I've got my plug set. I've had it since four-wheel driver, so I've got my pliers in the plug set. It's all good. And I'll probably get one of those Tesla little pump things, because my partner, when she's on her own, it's there.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'll never use it because I hate this stuff, but that would be my rationale.
That's a good idea.
It'd be worth showing you how to use it, because it's probably fairly easy to put the wrong tube in sometimes. Just make sure he knows how to pull the cord out to tire up with, I reckon.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I've personally done it a few times on four-wheel drives, that's for sure. But yeah.
Well, if you look at this image here, there's actually two nozzles. So only one of them contains the goo. So that one there is the compressor one, and the other separate nozzle with the selector switch, that is the one that the goo cylinder is connected to. So there's two different ones. One inflates and one inserts the goo. So that's just something useful.
I looked at that and I thought that's actually very cool. I mean, the scenario of getting a screw in, whatever, slow leak, at least you can put some air in it, on the phone.
Yep.
Put this thing, get the pressure up, carry on driving, So I think it's a good tool, personally.
So do you insert the goo through the hole in the tire?
No, just through the valve. So you can see here, that's actually a valve. That's just a valve fitting.
I see. Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that's the goo one, and this one is for the compressor. So that's why you've got a selector between the two.
Yeah.
So it's just useful to familiarize yourself, and also whether you've got a Model 3, which is most likely, or a Model 3 or a Model Y. The Model Y has two power sources. One is in your center console, and it's under your armrest, which is the same for the Model 3, and it's also got an additional one on the left-hand back corner of your boot. But I believe the Model 3 only has the central one under your armrest.
Yeah.
So it's always good for everyone who might be driving the car just to familiarize themselves on where that actual thing is, because sure enough, it'll be a dark, rainy night when you've got to do this, and you don't, and you're stressed out, and you just want to know exactly where to plug this thing into.
Thank you, James. Harold.
Thanks for that.
Alrighty. Any other questions?
Hi, guys.
Hi, Alison. How are you going?
Not very good. So I just thought I'd come on tonight just to say thank you so much for all the help that you've always given me when I had my beautiful 3, which is now sold.
Yes.
And because I'm never going to be able to drive that. And also the help trying to sort out a Y, and Richard coming to my house to let me sit in one. My decision, because I then fractured another 2, so I now have 11 spinal fractures, was that I don't know when I'll be able to drive. I'm hoping to drive in February, but I didn't want to be buying a Y that is not the one I would want to buy, which is the long range. That was my decision, was a Y long range, I think you remember. And because Juniper is coming out, I didn't want to have a Y that maybe I have to sell in 6 months, 9 months. Well, I just don't know, what the future is. So my decision, and I still want to stay on the Tesla page because I will be back in a Tesla, but I wanted to have something I knew I could sell at any point and not lose a huge amount of money on. So I've been very lucky to pick up a finance falling through RAV4. So I'm going back into the all-wheel drive cruiser RAV4 only because I know that you can get more money than what you buy them for, because they're a 2.5-year wait. And I like the car okay. I mean, it's not how I loved my Tesla, but I know that I can drive that. It's at the right height, and if I need it for a year, so be it. If I need it for longer, then it doesn't matter. But probably it's wise not to buy a Y when Juniper's coming out, considering that I may have to sell, you know, if this doesn't settle and things don't get much better. So I would just want to thank you guys for everything, because you were all brilliant. And it's not that I do not love Teslas or have anything against them, because you all know how much I loved my gold Ali's toy.
No worries. Thanks, Alison. Yeah, and look, it's really sad that it's come to that, but you've made the right decision in your situation, and let's hope that you return back to the Tesla family soon. Now, for anyone that's literally just bought a Model Y, don't stress out too much, because
oh no, different situation than anybody.
Yeah, exactly. So just to finish that point, one thing that most of you that have just bought your first Tesla in the family don't yet realize, but you're going to come to this realization very quickly, whether you like it or not, is that one Tesla in the family is really not enough. And other family members are also going to want a Tesla. So there is absolutely nothing wrong with this non-Juniper. And just for people that might not know what Juniper is, that is believed to be the code word for the project to refresh the Model Y, which will make it look similar to the Model 3 in that the changes were a modification of the headlights. The boot is different slightly, and interior there's a few other little highlights, and there's a second screen for kids in the back. So that's the Juniper project. It's preceded by the Highland, which is for Model 3. So at some point in the future, and look, it might be next year, as in the end of next year, perhaps, if Tesla pulls their finger out. But, you know, to be honest, they may decide that with Model Y being the world's top selling vehicle or car of any kind, that there is no great urgency to do that, unless, of course, some of the urgency or imperative is more to do with saving money, which Tesla is great at doing. And for example, if you go and look at the Highland Model 3 at Osborne Park at the showroom, and I think Pete explained last week there are actually 2 of them available, that one of the changes they did was they actually combined all of the back tail lights, brake lights, indicators. Beforehand, it was split between the boot that moves up and down and the side of the car that doesn't move. And now they've basically combined them all into one assembly in the boot, which makes sense because there's less wiring, less cabling and all that, less complexity. It's easier to line up and whatever. So a lot of these Juniper changes will truly be cosmetic, or they'll be changes that really benefit Tesla more than the drivers. It'll make it cheaper for them to build, which is good for everyone. But like Alison said, in her particular situation, if you were thinking that you may need to sell the car quite early, quite soon, under extenuating circumstances, then, you know, you'd be more concerned about it. But as all of you one Tesla families are going to realize you're going to be 2 Tesla families or 3 Tesla families, then I dare say that even a significant other, or maybe if they're really fortunate, one of your older kids, I think they'd be quite happy with a second-hand non-Juniper Model Y, just quietly, or a Model 3 for that matter.
Harold, I should have made that clear. I'm taking the assumption that you all know my situation, but
and that's exactly right, and that's what's been explained, Alison. That's I'm just saying. This is So that's that.
If I had the Y and I knew I was going to keep it for 2-3 years, who cares? I would be absolutely delighted with the current Y, and I'm having to leave the Tesla family at the moment, much against my will. So it's certainly not something I want to do, But I think in the scheme of things, it's the right thing for me, because
Yep.
I know I do want to go into long range as soon as I am properly healed. So I would have been selling very quickly because I couldn't get the long range model. If I could have got the long range model just now from inventory, I may actually have done that and just thought, well, I've got a long range, that's what I want.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, so that's absolutely right. So in your very particular situation, and you've done exactly the right thing. And Alison, you've never left the Tesla family. Let's just call it a trial separation. And
I
absence
don't
will
even
make
want
your
a trial
heart.
separation, and I definitely don't want a divorce. I will
No.
be in
We're gonna call
Hawaii.
it. Absence is going to make your heart grow fonder, and you will be back. And we certainly hope that is the case. That you'll be back driving the car, and it will be a Tesla. So
Yeah, I've told
let's just.
Julian that as soon as we know when all that's happening, check on my health status. And if I am that's Julian from Tesla, and I will then put in my order for a long range Y. But yeah, look, I love the Tesla, absolutely 100%. As you know, I wouldn't have done all the mods that I did on mine if I hadn't.
Yep.
So I am still on the Tesla page, and I must watch probably about 10 to 15 electric Vikings and every Tesla thing that comes on YouTube. So I'm still very much up to date with Tesla. But I really just wanted to thank you all while you're all on the phone.
Yeah, no worries. All right. And thank you for
bye,
doing that, Alison.
guys.
Really appreciate it. All right, you take care.
And thank you so much. Bye.
No worries. See ya. Alrighty. So has anyone else got any other questions? Actually, Chuck, you're coming to us from the future. Have you got any charging things to report? I think there were a few more superchargers that come online. Quite a few, actually.
Yeah, I think so. I'm just going to jump on Supercharger info and just have a quick look. There were, I think I made a comment on the 24th. Hang on, just going to bring the list up. I made a comment. I think on the 24th there was not the 24th. It was the 21st.
20th.
It was Friday 22nd.
Oh, yep.
Okay, not the date matters, but anyway, I made a comment on one of the forums that morning saying, well, that's it. Tesla's opened 26 new superchargers in December, so that's a huge amount, and that's and that'll be them done for the year. And then there were 4 more that day. So yeah, you just can't keep up. There were 3 which were known to be in progress, and there was also the some of the longer term owners might remember the Coffs Harbour Big Banana site from years ago.
Oh yeah.
If you drove the East Coast back then.
Yes.
Back when it was back when it was harder to cross the Nullarbor. Yeah, they reinstated a 2-stall sled at the Big Banana site. So it's like a piece of history that's come back just for a brief moment to pick up the load.
Yeah, because I actually went past the Big Banana in 2018, but it was nighttime and there was no supercharging there at all.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. That's great. I have got
massive EV savings are available to you now.
A little bit of disappointing news about the WEV network, which it's important to get out less good news than as it is to get the good news out, and that is the slight frustration with the Overlander Roadhouse, because unfortunately for some time now it's been out of action. I don't know exactly when it was, but it was obviously between the 16th and the 19th of December. And as we speak today, it's still out of action. And to be honest, that's not fantastic because, for example, we had 2 anonymous caravanners in an EV, which I'll choose to call Shane and Sarah, just to keep the real identities anonymous. And look, they were unable to use it yesterday to charge their car, and that would have been actually very, very useful because it was literally directly between Northampton and Carnarvon. So
I don't want to make any assumptions here, but what manufacturer of hardware is that site?
No, and I'd love to, and trust me, having suffered the indignities of going past tritium after tritium after tritium in Queensland and not having them work. Yes, it is true that it is a tritium at the site, but it seems because the ChargeMate, which is the Type 2 outlet, is also unavailable. I actually, and I'm only surmising this, I actually think it's a gross power issue. I think the supply to that cabinet is dead. So I personally think it's probably a circuit breaker issue than anything else. Frustratingly, I mean, a gentleman by the name of Rustam Bagarov, he's only just said charging station broken, so he hasn't elaborated. And the two anonymous people that we'll call Shane and Sarah, they didn't actually have time to check out Overlander to see whether there was power or not, because they were actually drafting behind a truck, and it was important for them to keep doing that. So, and look, it's a 1,400 kilometre return trip from Perth to have a look, see, which yeah, wink wink, James, there's a location, but it is 1,400 k's.
I'm just mapping it out now.
Return trip. So look, to be honest, it's not ideal. Of course, you know, this outage has coincided or collided with Christmas, which of course makes things not ideal when, you know, presumably most staff members of various utilities are on holidays. So I guess at best we can hope this becomes a learning, that some of the fragility of the network is addressed, so that if things like this happen in the future, you know, they can be rectified promptly. And I guess that's the most appropriate way to sort of describe it. But in obviously good news that we heard from Sandra Giri last week, when she kindly gave up her time to give us some more info. Oh, actually, well, we've got photographic confirmation, and I'll get those photos in a moment, that Billabong Roadhouse, the actual, you know, this is a tritium site with the nice looking shade cover, that's been installed at Nanyatara, and it's going to be installed soon at Billabong, and I believe it's also the same thing's being installed at Wim Creek between Port Hedland and Karratha. And in fact, Sarah and Shane are going to suss that out probably tomorrow at Wim Creek. So there's some positivity where the WEV network is getting more and more chargers fitted, you know, in the very near future. But yeah, let's do hope they address some of this, some of the brittleness in the network as it stands at the moment. Alrighty, any other questions or comments?
An observation: when including my personal data on handing over to Michael, and so did the factory reset, which is as recommended, to delete personal data, and found that the car believed it was in Pacific Western Time, or whatever it's called, and it was in Fremont. And of course, the cameras weren't calibrated, so we had to drive up and down marked roads for, what was it, about 40 minutes or so to get the cameras to calibrate. It was just suburban roads. Just go up, roundabout, go back, roundabout, go back, roundabout, until the cameras finished calibrating. I hadn't expected that. That wasn't mentioned in the notes.
Yeah, that's mine. When I reset mine, when I sold my Model 3, yeah, it thought it was in Fremont, but as soon as you started driving down the road, the GPS reset itself. But I did not have to recalibrate the cameras.
The cameras was a surprise, and of course the time was wrong. And as soon as we started driving, I did a Google search. Yes, turn the wheels. It then has to look at the GPS, and it updated the time and the map instantly. But it was, you've got nothing until you calibrate your cameras, was the surprise.
Yeah, that's it. I guess I dare say, and the number of software revisions you could always, or requests you could always make, is it'd be nice if a factory reset. There should be I'm selling my car memory clearance where it just clears anything pertinent to you and not the rest of the car. So it should be all your personal settings and whatever, but not the rest of the car's stuff. So
that's right. It was as per guidance, and I was surprised that that's what it ended up doing. But
yeah,
it just delayed Michael before he could head south for a while.
Well, actually, I mean, he could have just driven the car like he did before he bought an awesome Tesla, and that is manually. But yeah, I mean, I agree.
Yeah, I didn't want to say, because it's got full self-drive, blah blah blah, as he's seen, and then all of a sudden, now you've got it, you can't use it until you do the cameras. That's not kosher.
Well, I'm pleased to say that I actually used it. It was worth the effort because I drove all the way back through that horrible traffic on that Friday night, and it wasn't much less stressful. All the tail lights coming on, the car just behaved, kept in the lines. It was amazing. So it was good job.
So you weren't freaking out, Michael? You weren't thinking it was strange?
No, I just sort of sucked it up and I said, let's see what this car can do. And through Bunbury, where they have all those cones, they all popped up. That's like Steve said, all there. And I actually drove through that whole roadwork section on Autopilot, and it's great.
That's
so
awesome.
There you go. Good test, hey?
Well, good on you for just jumping straight in, and
I did.
because many of us others had sort of been a little bit freaked out and taking it slowly. But look, it's a great way to dive in and just let the magic happen.
Yeah, I got the indicator and overtaking sorted and indicated back, and it went back in, and the whole thing.
Very good, very good. Alrighty, has anyone else got any other questions or comments as we await the Parkers joining us?
I can be
slowly.
an overlander by 4:20 apparently.
Yeah, I did see that image. It's funny. You're
in the old
closer.
days.
Yep.
Yeah, in the old days, would still be running. I'd still could do it live, but now with the shorter Ask Me Anythings. Interesting. You don't have to stop at Geraldton either, because it just takes you straight from Jurien to Northampton.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yes, and what you do is, well, the problem is you're going to have to fully charge anyway, because we basically know that there's nothing at Overlander.
Yeah.
Although you can charge at Billabong on the 11 kilowatts. Well, your car can take 11.
There's better food at Billabong anyway.
Yes. And what you do, though, strategically, when it is back up and running and you're driving towards Carnarvon, because the tritium is limited to 48, 49 kilowatts, what you do is you keep charging at Northampton until a Kempower unit charges your car at roughly 48 kilowatts or less. And then you go. And it doesn't matter if that's at, depending on the car, that could be as high as 93%, sometimes even 95% before it tapers even more. So whenever you're road tripping, what you should always do is, providing you've got the distance to make it to the next location, stay where you are until the charging speed slows down to match the next location.
Yep.
And that's the most efficient way to do rapid road tripping. And the point of doing it rapidly is not that you're in a hurry. It's that you can have better use of your time at the other end during touristy stuff. And all
I guess that's the thing to think about it. Often we're not like you. We don't want to just get somewhere as fast as we can. We want to do and see things on the way. So people will, if the whole thing does stay to 100%, but stay to 95%, so you can take those side trips, go and have a look at that historic thing or the beach or whatever it is.
Yes. So don't be in a hurry for hurry's sake.
Yeah.
Optimize your trip so as to maximize the enjoyment of the side trips and the, oh, look, I've just noticed something on that hill. And, if you've haven't charged fully or whatever, you may go, oh, actually, I feel a bit tense doing that because I'm a little bit short on juice or whatever. It always gives you options, and you want to maximize the usefulness of the road trip, because let's face it, I mean, I love driving, but just going from A to B with nothing to see in between, that is just a task to be undertaken to get to the good stuff. But you never know where the good stuff is. So yeah, anyway. But yes, James, perhaps there's a parallel universe whereby I just goaded you and said, well, come on, let's go now. And of course, you would have then said, oh yeah, but I forgot to charge my car. And then I would have said, that's okay, you can supercharge at Lancelin.
Yep.
And you're on your way. So, and that's why supercharging and fast DC charging is just so critical, because it really doesn't matter what state your car is at any time. You can just jump in it and go.
Yeah, I put Karen up because I'm on, I think, 54% right now. So I would have gone to Karen up for 20 minutes.
Yeah. Yep. And then Jurien Bay, and then Northampton, and then
arrive at
Overlander at 4 a.m.
Yeah, 4:20.
4:20. 4:20 and 69 seconds.
Elon time.
Elon time
is faded.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, very good. Alrighty, we've got any other questions or comments before?
Yeah, Harold, it's Mark here. Just talking about road trips. Rob Dean put a post up on X. I think it was the 27th of the 12th. I don't know what today is. At 8:38 with regard to the camper wagon being towed. Interestingly enough, there was a response from the RAA of South Australia saying, great to see, Rob, love an EV rural adventure. The funny part is I don't think anyone's really told them about Nullarbor Roadhouse.
Well, actually, various of us have, quite loudly. So,
well, they haven't taken the hint, put it that way.
Actually, I'm glad I'm going to hop on to.
And I mean,
X.
that would be really good if RAA actually pulled their finger out and actually did that. That would then release that charger at Nullarbor that John Edwards has done such a wonderful job on to go somewhere else.
Yes, and we know that unfortunately, the RAA have declared that there is no civilization beyond Ceduna. They have basically decided that Ceduna is the most westerly location that is worthy of a fast DC charger, and that all other locations west within the bounds of South Australia are only entitled to what they call a fast AC charger, and that is a 7.6 kilowatt single phase, 32 amp single phase charger, which actually will charge your car, a Tesla, at less speed than the 32 amp three-phase outlet that already exists at Nullarbor, which John Edwards and Ava, Tokwa and Toka have donated, and some others have donated money towards those deltas as a, sadly, probably not a very, it's probably going to be there for quite a while before the NRMA, that's another motoring organisation, who is in receipt of dozens of millions of dollars of federal government money earned from us taxpayers, paid for by us taxpayers, should I say. They've accepted that money. They have a solution that, Chuck, what is that? What was that place in New South Wales where they've been?
Mittagong, where they installed the free wire ones.
The free wire charging units that would literally easily plug into that 32 amp three-phase outlet and provide in excess, I think it's 150 kilowatts of fast DC charging with a 150 with 160 kilowatt hours of battery storage. So you could run probably five cars through that in short order before it even had to think about recharging itself from the supply. So that is something that the NRMA, who have promised to put a charger at Nullarbor, they could have literally done this before Christmas and not break a sweat. But they have thus far chosen not to. So you've got the RAA, who have literally abandoned all hope west of Ceduna, and you've got the NRMA, who currently are mostly picking the lower hanging fruit and doing the rollout in their own time. And the problem is
they're the arena rollouts, aren't they? So they're going to be ones.
No, that's not arena. This is direct injected funding as declared by Chris Bowen earlier this year.
Yep.
This is separate to the arena funding entirely. So, and me personally think it's an interesting way of dealing funds by giving it to a single state-based motoring organisation who have their own agenda, their own economic imperative, which is profit to themselves or their members in that state. But anyway,
we need to get another group involved, like the RRA, to come in and sort of.
Well, the Inflation Reduction Act, that is actually an American legislation to do with EVs.
I was thinking the Irish one, the Irish Act.
Yeah, but I don't know if the Irish want to advocate for their Antipodean ancestors, of many of which they're descendants, of which many of their ancestors were handpicked by the best judges of England to join us in this country. But anyway, but yeah, thanks for that, Chuck. That's awesome. That there are charges.
Yeah, I've just dropped a link in the chat there with info about the NRMA ones.
Oh, cool. So there's the Midigon charger. Wow, look how big that screen is. Although I dare say there's a bit of distortion there. That must be a wide-angle camera lens or something.
Yeah,
20th of December. So I don't read here. I'm only scanning very quickly, but I don't read that they're suddenly going to put one of these in Nullarbor as well. I don't sort of see that in the article.
No, I think I'm just guessing that they've installed it at Mittagong, which, for those who don't know, it's between Sydney and Canberra. It's not a very remote location. I'm surprised that they would install those units there, because they could, that site would see 6 or 8 cars in 2 or 3 hours, and then the subsequent cars would only be charging at 27 kilowatts or whatever, because the battery would be drained. So my guess is they're installing them there so that they can do monitoring and testing and things like that, maybe, and then they'll install them at more remote places later on.
Well, I think the thing is, I had a 50 kilowatt RTM unit there initially. In fact, it's still there. It's just off camera site. So I think they were power constrained at that site, and in which case the free wire makes perfect sense. But and yes, it's important to bolster the busy corridor that is that between Sydney and Canberra. But
Harold, they're going to be using the Goulburn superchargers, especially the Teslas, and then maybe they're open for other EVs. So Canberra to Sydney doesn't go through Mittagong. That's a high land diversion trip.
Yes, so I would argue that what matters, sometimes you have to build things before the people come, because there aren't that many crazy idiots that want to drive around Australia with or without a caravan, or go across the Nullarbor, as a loop or not. But there would be a whole lot more people that would do that and consider doing it if there was just a little bit more infrastructure. And to be honest, there's not much more they have to do, because the WEV network is going to go all the way to the SA border, and RAA are going to go all the way to Ceduna in the next few months. It's just a couple of black spots, and there's about 16 off the top of my head that the NRMA need to do now, and the rest they can just relax and do it later. And as Chuck said, fill in Mittagong or whatever for whatever purpose. That's all they need to do. Just give us the black spots, patch them up, and let us do our crazy road trips, because there's more than enough of us that want to do it. And increasingly more, as we get inspiration from people like, Shane and Sarah that oh man, they're doing it. I spoke to them a bit earlier today, and they said that Sarah goes, oh yeah, and we looked through the long range weather forecast, and there's lots of thunderstorms in the Kimberley, and it's like, oh, it's going to be exciting. You know,
you don't want the bridge to go down again, do you?
No, well, I think the bridge is probably the tallest structure in all of that area. So if anything, you just park on the bridge and you'll be all right. But yeah, it's going to be exciting. Alrighty, so yeah, come on, NRMA, just please just do what you need to do, and we'll all be happy. And Tesla, keep building those superchargers. The good news was, I think Sandra was saying last week that there were a couple of teething issues with the Cogen Up combined WEV network and Tesla Supercharger site. A friend of mine went past last Friday, and there are conduits hanging out of the ground in all the right places. So it seems that probably whatever those problems were very quickly resolved. So we're certainly looking forward to that coming online, hopefully in February or March next year.
Speaking of superchargers, can I add a quick note? The supercharger voting is coming up to the last couple of weeks of this quarter. And currently Mildura is in number 6 position. So I think that's our best chance for, if all Australians want to vote for the same ones, that's probably our best chance for this quarter. Because I've been slacking sending out the, vote for these 5 sort of things. But if we can try and get Mildura over the line, that's only 60 votes behind the 5th place one.
Yep.
And that actually aligns with a tactic you mentioned previously, Harold, which is to nominate sites that are a bit further away from where the network is now.
Yep.
If you vote for Mildura, we're doing that in about 3 different directions. So
yes,
it's about 500 k's from Adelaide, 500 k's from Bendigo, and probably 600 k's from Wagga. But yeah, so if you vote for Mildura and that gets in, that'll encourage them to build 3 intermediate ones.
Absolutely. And just for clarity, the Mildura voting location, that's already been selected to be voted upon. So that's on the Tesla's map. Yeah. So and then to combine that, a few weeks ago I sent out an email and we'd spruiked to request that Norseman be placed on the next round's voting list.
Yeah.
So, Chuck, from the eastern states, we need to pick past Port Augusta, because I think Port Augusta has won.
Yeah.
The other one. So, I reckon Ceduna is probably a good one, because then that would encompass Kimber and Woodner.
Yeah.
Because Tesla would naturally want to backfill, as the RAA have done.
Yeah.
And then, because you want to always leapfrog, because Tesla is remiss to put another one at the end of the line.
That's
so,
right,
for example, Claire has had nothing since the big battery was installed, and Elon Musk personally personally driven to Claire, to Jamestown, and the Claire one was done basically just to make that possible.
Yeah.
So even though personally I would have just put a temporary sled there, and anyway.
But the biggest gap between superchargers, apart from Clare to Perth, there's a bit of a gap there. But the other biggest gap they've got is between Gympie and Calliope in Queensland, which you've driven that gap, so you would know exactly if it's an issue or not.
Yeah, absolutely. That's right. Hopefully they will fill it in, because they are building Rockhampton as we speak. In fact, it must almost be ready to be commissioned.
That's open.
Oh, well, there you go. So awesome. And great, I can get that next year. Awesome.
And someone spoke to the contractors at Rockhampton when they were finishing up.
Yep.
And they were told they were moving on to Mackay and Bowen after that.
Oh, fantastic.
Yep, a bit further north.
So now you've got the Calliope Gympie gap, because the thing that's suboptimal is I had to charge to almost full to make it to gimpy without having to use anything
50 kilowatts or less.
I was going to say inferior, but I thought I'd hold my tongue. But then you just, yeah.
50 kilowatts or less.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
It's a
Cool,
polite
awesome.
way of saying it.
Well, that's fantastic. So did you say Mackay and what was the one after that? Oh, Bowen, right.
And Bowen, which is halfway between Mackay and Townsville. So they're sort of inching their way closer
to Townsville.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. Townsville's a major location. It's a big Air Force base and army, I think, as well.
Bigger army, much bigger army.
Sorry, bigger army. Thanks, Steve. Yeah, apologies. In fact, you're right, because they run the Black Hawks out of there, and that's army. I think that's right.
Correct.
Very good. So yeah, let's hope they go all the way to Townsville, and then they can start traipsing west.
Yeah. Well, if you consider they had nothing north of Gympie, 5 months ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite a bit of progress. So
yeah, absolutely.
Do you know where the one is at Gympie? Because that might have gone underwater with the flood there. Because I don't know where one's located. I suspect it's in town.
Gympie's it's on the bottom level of it's the underground car park of the shopping centre.
Yeah.
But
from memory, that's actually on a slight rise.
That's on a big rise if it's the shopping centre. That's got the piles at the back. If the one where it is, that's the piles at the back.
Yeah, I remember going uphill a little bit. Like there was certainly much rest of the ground that was lower than the shopping centre for sure.
Well, that'll be good then if that's up there. Yeah.
The WA side of things, Harold, when you went around the country, did you go like anti-clockwise?
No, I went clockwise the last lap.
Yeah.
Went anti-clockwise the one before. Anti-clockwise the one before that, and clockwise the first one. So the most recent one was clockwise. In my humble opinion, clockwise you've got a better chance most of the time of getting either favourable winds or not adverse winds. So, although of course the wind can always change direction, but the Nullarbor seems to mostly be going as an easterly, so from the east, which is always good if you're clockwise at the moment. And a critical one at the moment is between Tennant Creek / Three Ways, which is 20 k's north of Tennant Creek, and that's the turn off towards Camberwell, and that's a 450 kilometre gap between Three Ways, the roadhouse, and Camberwell itself. And the reason why I say 450 k's is there is actually the Barclay Homestead, but they've only got 15 amp single phase caravan outlets, and they are decidedly EV. I wouldn't say they hate EVs, but they don't care about them at all. So they're not interested in providing any form of three-phase charging or anything like that. So the best way to traverse it is just do the whole 450 k's. And the best way to do that is slow down a bit and not have headwinds. Having said that, on my last lap, I had pretty bad headwinds. I was just unlucky.
Do you have a standard range or a long range?
No, I've got effectively I've got a long range Model Y. And very quickly, the reason why I say that is technically it's actually a performance, which did have the Uber turbine wheels as standard. There's no other option. But at my own expense, I bought a set of secondhand standard 19-inch Gemini wheels and put them on. And that then basically got me an extra 12% efficiency and 12% range.
Yeah.
Because that's the difference between the Uber turbines of the performance version and the standard Gemini wheels. So, so technically, I sort of describe it as it's basically a long range Model Y.
Yeah.
Because being a performance does not make any difference to its efficiency per se. There's no real weight gain in the performance. You know, in fact, there might be a slight efficiency gain because the suspension's about an inch lower than the long range.
Okay.
But yeah, so clockwise, and look, clockwise good too because, well, actually, it won't really matter. In a few months, you can go clockwise, and you'll have nothing but fast DC chargers all the way through to Kununurra from Perth, and in 6 months' time, hopefully, you'll have nothing but fast DC chargers from, let's call it, well, from Mundrabilla Roadhouse to Perth.
Yeah. What about South? So I'm
So
interested.
South Australia, the fast DC charging will end at Ceduna, and then you'll have the slow DC charger at Nullarbor Roadhouse. At Ceduna, you'll have to fully charge to make it to Nullarbor, and then look, if you overnight at Nullarbor, you can make it to Mundrabilla, and after that, it's just sweetness and light. You know.
So, say for example, I want to travel from Mandurah to Esperance. I see there's quite a few fast chargers going down the coast to Albany, then cutting across, but there's very little going sort of diagonally down to Esperance from Mandurah. So
no, so
that way.
If we look at the map now, you can from Mandurah, so that's sort of here. There's a few ways. I don't know if you can cut through to Williams, but you can just go down the southwest coast, and you can go.
It's not sharing yet, Harold.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, there is one at Williams.
You're just here in Mandurah, so you could either go across to Williams, but then Kojonup is crappy at the moment until, say, let's call it February, March. But if you wanted to go now, what you can do is go down past Bunbury, so you could charge up at Eton. You can then make it to Manjimup, which is a WEV network charger. I haven't done the numbers. You might be able to go straight from Manjimup to Albany, but even if you didn't, you just go the coast road and you go from Manjimup to Walpole. Again, that's WAV network, 150 kilowatt chargers. You've then got Albany. You can then go to Jerramungup. Now, at Jerramungup, you'll have to fairly fully charge because there's nothing at Ravensthorpe yet until the new year, or until early next year to Esperance. But let me just quickly do the numbers between Jerramungup and.
Well, I think it's 300 from Jerramungup to Esperance, which would be all right.
So if that's the case, Esperance to Jerramungup. If it's 300 k's, all you need to do is just charge fairly fully at Jerramungup
And the reliability of these chargers out there, that's my concern. I mean, I've heard stories about the non-Tesla chargers not being very reliable.
Yep. So it's 302 k's. So that's actually very doable in any car. All you need to do is at Jerramungup just charge fairly fully. Look, if you charge your car so it shows about 400 kilometers, you'll know that no matter what happens, you'll always make it. Literally.
Yeah.
That's a big surplus. So if it's a long range car, that's just a bit under 90%. If it's a standard range car, it's in the high-ish 90s to go to Esperance. Now, the other thing you can do is, and I actually recommend this quite literally, is why not turn it into a loop? So then why not go from Esperance to Norseman to Coolgardie, Southern Cross, Merredin, Perth and home? Because that way you're always driving new ground and you're turning it into a loop, and you basically means the holiday keeps going until you get all the way home.
Yeah, no, I'll do that one day. Yeah, it's just something. I'm planning on going down there on the 29th, but I've only got 3 days down there, so it's
gotcha.
Yeah, I have time pressure. I can't afford to take the loop.
Yeah, no, totally understand. Now, Chuck, I'm going to use this as an opportunity since you mentioned it, and this is really disappointing. But see this spanner here? That's an RT tritium. This spanner here, this means it's out of action, is an RT tritium. This spanner here is an RT tritium. If we zoom in to this one here, is an RT tritium. Just saying.
And did I see a spanner over the Ravensthorpe side as well?
Ravensthorpe.
Yeah, it wasn't marked as grey.
No, that's spanner. Sorry.
Oh, that's the new one.
You did see. That's the new one.
Oh, look at that.
That means coming. Oh, what?
Must be out of date. Must be the feed from ChargeFox is dodgy.
Always dodgy anyway.
It must be out of date. I might just check that on ChargeFox to see if it is offline. You normally get a status on PlugShare these days via ChargeFox.
Yeah.
Oh, it's showing black. Why is it showing black? It's showing offline.
Huh. There was someone using it. The PlugShare showed people using it yesterday though, didn't it?
Oh, no, hang on. It says emergency stop button needs to be reset. Please twist the red button and station will return online. Okay, so that's just an ID 10T error, which is some person has gone past. I'll just spotlight that. Some person has gone past and thought it was clever to press the emergency stop. So that's actually a good pro tip for anyone. If you go past a location that's not working, especially if it's a tritium, do see if the emergency stop has been pressed and unpress it. Which is you twist the red button. I think it might be anti-clockwise or whichever way it turns, and then it will pop out. And then it'll take about 5 minutes to reset. So if you're road tripping, never go past a charger, even if it's broken. Just have a quick look to see if it's something simple, because sometimes it is.
Good tip.
Alrighty. Oh, we see that Shane's on. Shane, are you? Oh yes, Shane and they're in. What? That's a weird looking vehicle. Are you? I didn't know you. Did you put some temporary cloth on your Tesla or something? That looks very strange.
No. That's our bed behind us.
Very good.
Well, half our bed, we're sitting on the other half. This bit folds out to be the foot.
So I'm just going to check on PlugShare if you've checked in, but you probably haven't because you've been busy, and that's very naughty. But whereabouts are you guys? As if I didn't know.
Andy Tara?
No, further than that. Go on. Next guess.
Oh,
I can't guess because I already know. So
You
I'm
do make
going
a
to sound
good
like
point, though, Hal.
I'm going to sound like an
You
idiot.
can't guess.
You make a good point. I am going to check in. Let's zoom into where I am.
Okay.
Past Nenatera's Karatha?
We might be in Karatha. That's right.
Yeah.
Check in.
Awesome.
Charging now. We're only doing 3.4 tonight, and we'll be here for, I don't know, 6 hours.
Yeah.
Well, the rest of the night, to be perfectly honest.
No, that's right. Yeah. So we took off on Boxing Day. That part of the schedule went according to plan. And we made it to, where did we sleep last night?
No idea.
I can't remember the name of it.
What,
Manila.
tonight, you mean?
We made
Manila, yes.
Yeah, no, last night we made it to Manila last night. Even though one of the chargers at Billabong was broken, which was a crying shame. We would have made it a little bit earlier in the evening if it hadn't been for that. And then tonight we've made it to Karatha. Overlander, yes, sorry, that's right. We charged at Billabong and Overlander was broken, yeah.
Sorry, just having dinner.
Yeah, no, that's cool. So basically where they are is at the Discovery Park in Karatha, and and they've checked in too. That's very good. And getting 3 kilowatts.
Yeah, only 3 kilowatts tonight because the plan is we'll top up the caravan because we used a bit of that this afternoon to make the last leg into Karatha. Just basically we were charging off at Fortescue River
Roadhouse. We had a 15 amp caravan park socket, and we didn't feel like waiting so long, so we drew down on the batteries in the caravan to get 7.5 kilowatts out of it. And yeah, made it as far as Karratha. So tomorrow's going to be a challenge, and the next day, probably the next 3 days, I think, are going to be challenging. Then hopefully we're into, well,
Darwin.
yeah, easier times, hopefully. We seem to be getting, well, what's our longest stretch?
245.
We've done, yeah, we managed to do 245 Ks on a single charge. So,
and that's without the caravan's help. That's just the car's onboard battery.
That's just for full charge on the car and drive to wherever we need to get to. Yeah.
And
joining the Zero Club at the other end.
I was just going to say, in case I didn't already know, what state of charge did you get to as you arrived at various locations?
I think you might have a photograph of what we had when we arrived in
2%.
Where was that last night?
Carnarvon.
Carnarvon, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a screenshot of what we had in Carnarvon?
I'm
0.
Quickly looking if here we go. Oh no, that says 2%. No, that you hadn't made it yet.
So we went there if it still had 2 on it.
-2 maybe.
And guys, what speed we are traveling at?
There we go, 0
Probably
kilometers
245, Lee.
in Carnarvon.
What do we do?
We've done everything from 100 k's an hour. At 100, it's been a bit funny with the wind because there's a fair bit of wind up this way. But at 100, we get about 230, 240 watt hours per kilometre, something like that. And it just sort of depends a bit. At about 80, 85, 75, 80, 85, somewhere in there, we get about 200, 205 watt hours per kilometre, something like that. Yeah, that's that's about right. If we slipstream a truck, we can get 100 k's an hour at 200. So we've only seen like 2 or 3 trucks heading our direction. It's been a bit disappointing.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that you took a good photo of, this is at Nyanyatara, is the CDI Energy battery storage system. And this is just the inverter box and the battery. This is where the inverters, they're Fronius inverters, and actually they've got Victron and Fronius inverters and battery storage. And obviously the good thing about this site is, unlike the Overlander site, which is owned by the same company, this one's a 200 kVA and 215 kilowatt hour system. And that's at Nyanyatara.
Yes, it was a bit sad sitting there looking at that, thinking we're just a month or so early.
Yeah, if only. And
I think I sent some of the solar panels too there.
Yeah,
there's a bunch of solar panels they've laid out.
Sorry, yeah, I was just trying to find where they.
In the shed, there's about the same number of Jinko solar panels. Jinko? I can't remember. No, JA solar panels in crates still in the shed as well.
Yes, yeah. So I think that, and they're on a zigzag. I don't seem to have those panels. You might not have put it on WhatsApp, unfortunately.
Oh, maybe I didn't send it.
You might have sent it to me on my phone. But anyway, that's awesome. And yeah, you're right. There is that lament of you're so close but so far, and that would have saved you.
Yes.
2.5 hours. More actually.
Yeah, it would have saved us quite a lot of time.
Giving us some more sleep last night too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and when you're road tripping, sleep is the most precious commodity.
That was today.
Yeah. One of the things I did do at Carnarvon though was I took a few photographs of the charge rate of the lithium batteries in the car, as we approached. I don't know if you guys can read that. Can you?
I'll spotlight. Hang on a sec. I'll just spotlight you so that everyone can see a bit better.
I'm not sure. I'm going to guess Charlotte. Yeah. Okay. No, that's all right. I took a few photographs of the charge rate as we were approaching full charge, because the Kempower unit there is capable of 150 kilowatts, and we pulled in on a 0. It started up at 108 or thereabouts, and then it went its way up to about 115, and then fairly quickly dropped back to about more like 110, 112. Sat at 110 for all the way to about 60%, 70% state of charge. Then it started dropping down slowly. And we're still like in the 60, 70 kilowatts at 80, 90% state of charge. By the time it got to 97, I got a photo here showing 97%, 32 kilowatts still going into the batteries. At 98%, it was 29 kilowatts going into the batteries. At 99%, it still had 18 kilowatts going into the batteries, and then started dropping off. And when it got to 11 kilowatts, that's where I actually turned it off. But it was, by the time I turned it off at 11 kilowatts, I sort of got to 11. I went, with no point going any further from here. Went to the app, said stop charging, etc., etc. Then went into my sexy buttons and saw to see how many kilowatts were actually on board, and it was 51, which is actually 100% state of charge for my car. So they basically charge flat out all the way to the end, which is really, really nice.
So one pro tip, Shane, is when you charge your car at a Kempower, so when you do it tomorrow at Karratha, just press the button on your side of your nozzle, and you'll get a QR code will come up on the screen. Just put your camera from your phone on it, or take an image. No, don't take a photo, but it should actually present a website underneath the QR code. And if you click go, you'll get something like this. So you'll get a much nicer presentation, which you can get from the comfort of your phone. And then if you actually hit the X button, actually what you'll first get, I just don't have an image of it handy right this second, but you'll get an image of a battery, and it'll have increments of 10, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100%, and it'll tell you how many minutes it's going to take to get there. So that's the first screen. When you tap on the battery, you'll get this screen, and that'll show you the progress of it.
Right.
Anywhere you are within internet earshot. So you don't have to take manual photos. You just, give it a go in Karratha, and at Broome, and at Falls Creek, and Warman, and Kununurra.
And you may not have to press that button to the right or what have you. If you get to it within sort of the first couple of minutes, it comes up automatically. So I have actually pressed that button before to try and get that code to come up and cancel my charge.
That's weird.
Yeah,
that's strange that it would have cancelled it, but yeah. So it does show up initially for a short time, but yeah, it's definitely worth it. And unfortunately, it times out after a number of hours, and I don't know whether it's mainly if it crosses midnight in Europe, because it can be between just a couple of hours to like many hours. And then what'll happen is if you reload that website, it'll just say web page or something not available. But it does work throughout the whole duration of your charging session and for a number of hours once it's completed. And it's just great to geek out, like you say, Shane, on the fact that especially the LFPs, they charge hard, well quite respectably hard, right up to the very top, which is awesome.
Yeah. Caravan does the same. That sucks it down pretty hard as well, right to the top as well.
And speaking of the Caravan, I've probably got some good shots which I didn't have last week.
There's a pretty good video there somewhere, Harold. of us set up at Manilia this morning. I don't know if you've seen that one.
Don't know if I caught that.
It's on
It's
the page.
Is it what you didn't send it on WhatsApp? No, probably not.
No,
Oh,
no,
no, not
on
WhatsApp. Sorry,
WhatsApp.
Messenger on Messenger. No,
It's on
Can
Sarah's
send
Atto Girls Facebook page.
okay, so
what's the easiest way to send it to you, Harold?
no, that's okay. I'm just about to find it. Okay. No, I've got Atto Girls thing. Haven't got you set up. Oh yes, here we go. Let me just bring this up and maximize the screen. And, oh, getting dizzy. Here we go.
Which one?
There we go. This is
Yes,
Manilia.
that's the sunrise at Manilia. It's really jumpy for us, but I'm assuming it's good for everyone else.
Yeah, I don't think you can actually slow it down. Oh, yes, you can. Let's go half speed, because then it's like a little bit nicer for us all.
Oh,
But it is a bit jittery. It's a little bit jittery.
Interesting.
You know, it's jittery for us because
No, but
No, it's jittery for everyone. It
Oh,
looks like
okay.
you're in a death spiral.
Well, if you
of the...
forward, yeah, if you forward towards the end 2/3 of it there somewhere, out there somewhere.
I'll get it to back to.
There you go.
And there's your solar panels. Awesome solar panels.
Yeah. There we go. There's a half-dressed me making a video of myself.
Yes, I can see that. Oh, look at that. Very good.
Anyway, so there we are, all set up.
It's awesome.
The car's actually charging there at 7 kilowatts out of it. And that's where we got to yesterday.
I'm glad to see you got Australia almost perfectly positioned there, Shane.
Someone got a bit of tape measure, a bit of tape, and drew a perfectly northerly line through the middle and lined it up that way.
Very good, very good. But I guess the big question, apart from a bit of adversity tomorrow and the next few days, is: are you guys having fun or what?
Yeah, so far.
Fun?
Yeah, it's all right. We got the bubbles out. We're good.
Can't complain. Got dinner, got a caravan, got an air conditioner, got bubbles.
Yeah, I'm very glad I
Happy days.
used, what was it, 25 kilos of our precious 750 to install an aircon. Well worth it.
Which is also
would've-
called the inverter today when we were charging, which is a good thing.
Mm.
So we
Yeah, you gotta
crank the aircon to cool the inverter.
Very good. You got to do that because that's the most important asset you have.
Got to
is the
keep it
inverter.
happy.
Yeah.
But
And
the thing too is
also when we were stuck on when we were stuck on 11 kilowatts at Billabong, it was quite nice to pop the caravan out, turn on the air conditioner, lie back on the bed, have a
A bit
nap.
of a sleep in the
It
pool.
was nice.
yes, I'm sure that Pete
Can't complain at that.
Petrosky will claim that that his Model Y, his memory foam mattress in in the back of his Model Y was perfectly comfortable. But I don't think anything can beat a king size bed in a caravan. That's for sure. With a fridge a properly functioning fridge and all that stuff.
Properly functioning fridge. That's very, very important.
Yeah, no, I disagree. I had everything I needed in that car and more.
You did. You had a scooter that you used twice.
Oh, you had to go there, didn't you, Harold? You had to go there.
Yes.
It's such,
Steve.
it's such a busy time, isn't it? You don't really have leisure time to scoot around usually.
Exactly.
How's your 2 hour time limit going?
Yeah, no, it's all good. I've got it right. I've got it right here. Thanks, Steve.
Should have realised.
I'm almost getting semi-professional with this gig, but alrighty. So For Shane and Sarah, so your plans are basically to go as far north as you can to get as close to Broome in as short as time possible, I guess.
Well, yeah, just keep heading north.
Keep trucking.
Keep heading north. I'm hoping maybe we'll make Broome tomorrow.
It's ambitious.
Be nice if we made it a little bit further, but Broome would be. Oh, sorry, not Broome. Yeah, Broome would be Broome would be nice. We may end up at Pardue Caravan Park tomorrow night instead. And then there's the next challenge. Well, put it this way: earlier today, we thought we had a 500-kilometer stretch with no charging, because a lot of the caravan parks up this way are actually closed for the season. So, yeah, but we think now we have options, a plan at least, and a backup plan to get us to Broome. And I think once we've hit Broome, we should be okay. We did think the most challenging part was actually going to be Fitzroy crossing to, not Derby,
Halls Creek.
Halls Creek. But
That's actually looking
it's actually looking easier than getting to Broome at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those, one of the things that you wouldn't imagine you need to think of is height differences. So, for example, at Fitzroy Crossing, it's about 140 meters altitude, and Halls Creek is 420 meters. So you're gaining 300 meters of altitude, and that's potential energy, which comes at the expense of your battery pack. And Shane had worked out that basically that was about 2.5 kilowatt hours of battery that is gone doing nothing but climbing uphill, which he'll get later, when he goes downhill to, Darwin, I guess.
Not much good
on the day though.
Not much good to be then though.
No,
we've already filled up.
You've got to climb the mountain to get down the other side.
That's right. One of the things that surprised me today and actually caught me out a bit was we found we used something like 10% of our not that one.
Yeah.
More than that, 12.5% of our battery just running the air conditioner.
Because it was hot, really hot.
Hot and humid, and we used 12% of our aircon energy on aircon. I have never seen an aircon hit anywhere near that hard further south where the humidity's not there.
What temperature did you have it set on, Shane?
21.5, I think.
Yep. To be honest, I haven't found a big difference.
And what speed setting? What fan speed?
Auto.
Yeah. Well, it'd be high. It'd be high, which is not very high. But the thing is, you'll notice this if you do the experiment. It doesn't really seem to make a big difference what the temperature is you set within limits. Like if you set it to 23 or 24, it doesn't make a huge difference. The demand on your evaporator.
When we put up an insulation, we put up one of those, front screen things on the side window to stop it beating in, and it also instantly made a big difference.
Yep.
You could see it on the graph.
Yep.
Because the cabin was cool and staying cool, so it didn't have to work as hard.
Yeah, it looked like the worm plot dropped off like it would if you slowed down. It was
because if you
I've never seen an impact like that.
If you can block a square meter of window, there's nearly a kilowatt.
That's right.
That you've stopped the car from having to shift from the inside to the outside.
Yeah. Sarah took a note down. It went from around about 225 watt hours per kilometre down to 175 watt hours per kilometre.
Just for the shade.
Just for the shade. Yep. That was at 80. We hopped in the car and we're driving along going, I'm doing 80. Why am I chewing 225? That's not what we should be getting. And next thing you know, put the shade up and ta-da. So going to try and acquire a few more of those shades, and they might get taped to some of the windows, especially the rear windows at least.
Yes. Yep. Very good. Alrighty, we're starting to get to the wind down time. We've got about 5 minutes. So we might just take some last drinks for anyone that's got any pressing questions or comments before we let the Parkers maybe round our session out, and then Pete can do the final honours. So yeah, any last little comments or anything before we sort of wind down?
I just want to say, Shane, as a fellow caravaner, I'm at awe of what you're doing, or in awe of what you're doing. Love it, and look forward to following your trip. Safe travels, and just keep going. It's going to be awesome. Love it. Thanks, guys.
It's going to be awesome.
Cheers.
And a fellow Shane as well, Shane.
Oh yeah.
Not at all biased at all. And the thing is, what is? So 2 seconds, Shane. So the thing is, what you're doing has not been done before. There are other idiots that have driven around Australia several times or whatever, and that's just rinsing and repeating. But literally, what you guys are doing right now has never been attempted in Australia. So you really are pioneers, and for that you rightly should be lauded for having the guts to do it and making it work and making it happen. It's awesome.
Absolutely.
Pioneering spirit.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Confidence in one's own engineering skills. Is that, I think, is what they say. The old Romans, they made them stand underneath the bridge. Well, it's my version of standing under a bridge, I guess.
That's right. You chuck it off the cliff and you build the aeroplane on the way down, because it'll be okay.
Nothing a bit of gaffer tape and WD-40 went fix.
Absolutely.
Tomorrow I think is going to be our lucky day, because the odometer on my car at the moment reads 88876.
I dare you to take a photo and not miss it, because
I know it's missing. We don't want to miss it.
We'll be pulling over on the side of the road when it clocks over that extra whatever it is, 12 Ks.
Very good. Now we've got to unfortunately wind down this show because X makes us do so. So Pete, how would you round out what really is? Well, this is the last show of the year, so it's the last time that the Model Y will be thought of as maybe becoming the world's most popular car. Next year, it will absolutely be the most popular beyond all doubt everywhere. Pete, how would you round out an awesome show like this?
As always, stay safe, stay sustainable, and stay ahead of the new year.
And the best way to do that is buy a Tesla and a caravan, join Tokwa.
Or a BYD.
And I didn't even hear that. And ask us anything about advancing the world's transition to sustainable energy. Have a wonderful trip, you two crazy people up north.
See you next week.
And look forward to seeing you on next week's episode of Ask Us Anything. Good night, everyone.
Happy New Year.
See you next year, guys.
New Year, everyone.